Hi there. Hey, New York. This is CMajor. Thank you so much for tuning in to CMajor before the show. We've got something to say about first love. And we're getting an early start to today's podcast. So thank you so much for tuning in because I want you to be able to get on with your pre-Valentine's Day weekend if you are doing that. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about first love tonight. This is still part of the Piano for Parents podcast series that we're continuing. So get your favorite drink in hand, and I have a suggestion for that. But I just want to say that we promised that we were going to talk about sounds of love using the song First Love. So I know that I'm not the only one who has dealt with this topic in my own songwriting. So we're going to be taking a look tonight at some of the songs across the internet to see what's out there. And then we'll just we'll give you an idea of how you can put some chords together. So I'm very excited for tonight's podcast episode. So thank you so much for listening. So you're here with CMajor Porter, and we are dealing with the topic of what feelings really feel like when you're writing music and when you're sitting down to play a song. And I think we agreed in the last podcast that music really is what feelings sound like. So of course you can put your thoughts together and come up with a song just thinking about where you want to go. So there's a way to do that too. And we're going to visit one of our resources tonight to show you how to do that. But I'm talking about a song that you just write from the heart. You just sit down and you just start thinking, what sounds good together? What goes good? What goes well, if you prefer to say it that way? Which chords go really well together? What sounds good to your ear? How do you want to organize your sound? Because the basic definition of music is organized sound, right? So, as I said, I have a suggestion for you to get your favorite large strawberry lemonade ice drink ready with your favorite lemon-flavored pastry. And we're going to chat and we're going to chew while we revisit some chords and visit some chords and get you thinking about creating your own music for Valentine's. I'm excited for you. I think that's a good thing. Also, I'm going to share with you my plans to attend a fun performance in New York. I happen to have saved a rehearsal date to see a very famous conductor, and I think it's going to be fun. So it's about to get a little personal, but it's all love right here on CMajor before the show. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And so let's get started. You know, in the past we did talk about a roll call, and I called out some names. And then last time we didn't have a roll call at all, but we're about to do our roll call restart. So listen out for that. It won't be in this podcast, but I'm just giving you a preview of what's coming up in our upcoming podcast. But for now, I have some shout-outs. I'm going to give some shout-outs to some students that are really, really working hard. They are working on songs that excite them. And so I gave a shout-out to this student last week. I want to give a shout-out to her again because she really is taking charge of her sound and deciding how she wants to put her chords together. So she's working on a song that starts in a minor key, that starts with a minor chord. So it basically goes from 1 to 6 and then 5. So I believe that's how it goes. 1, 6, 5. So for instance, if you're in the key of A minor, you would go from an A minor chord and then you would go up to an F major chord and then you would step back and play a 5 chord or a 5/7 chord if you prefer that. So she's saying, she really doesn't feel playing a major chord for that 3rd chord, that she wants to keep that minor as well. And if you are using Roman numerals, then there's a way to indicate that. So just to give you a heads up for that kind of talk, we do that kind of talk over at the CMajor radio show, so I hope you'll join us over there a little bit later on tonight. So shout out to my student who's working on the song Havana. That's a song that I believe is presented by Camila Cabello and Pharrell Williams, I believe. So shout out to that student. And there are some other songwriting credits on that song as well. So we were looking at the sheet music together, and she's like, "Look at all of these names." I said, "I know. It's a lot of songwriting credit going on there." But she's very detailed, and she's growing up to be somebody that really, really loves music and really appreciates the opportunity to work on songs that excite her. So shout out to her. Shout out to my student that is just discovering the music of Billy Joel. So he's working on Piano Man and is feeling really challenged by that song. But I love his spirit. I love how he has the support of his parents to play quote-unquote real songs as he is also learning teaching pieces. And before you know it, it's going to be recital time, and then he'll have a chance to present some piano playing to his family and public and friends and other students. So shout out to that student. Also, shout out to that same student, because this student was so strong in telling me that he would never transpose anything ever. And then to see that he is finding a way to transpose and enjoy doing it, so much so to the point that he is teaching his parents. How awesome is that? I think I have to give a shout out and a cheer to this student. That's great. Transposition is very difficult for some of my students, but this student is just showing, he's on fire basically, and just showing that he's really willing to do it and just give it a try. So I'm very proud of his progress. And then I just want to say to all of my students, I love you. Thank you so much for letting me be your teacher. It's a great pleasure. Sometimes I feel like you're the teacher, because you point me in the direction of where you're trying to go with your music making, and it's just such a joy to be able to work with my students on songs that they really want to work on. So I have some other students that I can give shout outs to, but I'm going to hold off a little bit. There's some very exciting things that are taking place, but I do just want to say a big happy Valentine's Day to all of my students that celebrate that holiday, and to my students that are celebrating Lunar Year, to my friends that are celebrating that as well. Just a big shout out to everyone. And thank you so much for tuning in to CMajor Before the Show. So shout outs. Shout outs are things that I want to keep going here on the podcast. And now I'm going to take a look at some songs that you may find on the internet that deal with first love. So I went ahead and just started typing in a search. And I called my search First Love Songs. You can do the same thing. And the first thing that comes up, now I'm not going to play the audio sample, because I know what happens when you play the audio sample. That it gets heard, and then you get an email saying you played this audio sample from the person that owns the song and wants the credit for that. But you can do this for yourself. So you just type in First Love Songs as a Google search. And then the first thing that comes up is a song by Luke Bryan, if you know him. First Love Song. And then we have a song called First Love by Adele. It's a song by Adele. Now, some of my students are really into the music of Adele, so I may just be talking with them about this. First Love, Jennifer Lopez. I'm just going to take my pen right now and just jot down some of these. So the first three I've said so far. I said Luke Bryan. And it says My First Love Song. And then, of course, there are lyrics to this. And then Adele was the second person that I mentioned. First Love. And some of these videos, as you know, if you YouTube these, you'll find them with on-screen lyrics options, and then you'll find official videos and just a mix of what's out there for you to view and pay attention to. But I'm going to go over to one of my favorite sheet music sites in just a moment and just look over there to see what's going on with the song itself, just the structure of the song. So Jennifer Lopez had a song called First Love. Now let's just go with those three for the moment. I mean, there's some other discussion online if you care to take a look at those discussions, asking what reminds you most of your first love, and what songs would you dedicate to someone, and what percentage of songs are about love, and how many love songs are there in the world. So it's a big discussion on the internet if you care to take a look. But also, you have songs that are divided into genre. So we're not really dealing with that. We're just really talking about the topic of first love and just seeing what we can find. So now I'm going to just steer away from this general search, and now I'm going to go to my sheet music site and look over there. Okay, so as I try to change this. Okay. All right, now. Okay, so now I'm going to one of my favorite sheet music sites, and I'm just taking a look here to see what comes up. I'm going to do the same thing. It says I can search for an artist name or a song title, so I'm just going to put in First Love and just see what happens. So already I'm seeing about 5 different songs. So the first one that pops up is First Love, Adele. And then you have some other things mixed in here. Oh, there's something by Chris Tomlin, Kirk Franklin. Now I really want to deal with that in a second, because I had someone who's really into church tell me what my first love should be and should have been. And that was a really interesting conversation. So let me just click on this. And by the way, if you do have your drink in hand and you have your favorite pastry in hand, feel free to just sip along and drink along and chew along, because I want you to feel really casual and comfortable. Now, words and music by Adele Atkins. And so I like what I'm seeing already. You have learned these chords. So far, we have gone over C, F, and G, D, E, and A. We've talked about minor chords, I believe. So using your knowledge, just looking at this first page, you should be able to get through the chords that are just stated on the first page. Very simple. It starts off with an F chord, then it goes to a C chord. It goes from there to, looks like E minor, then A minor, and then F. So you can play this whole song the way it's looking. And I'm not going to play the sample, but I will just take a look at the first page. So if you know this song, it starts off with the word so, little to say, but so much time. Despite my empty mouth, the words are in my mind. Please wear the face. So that's where it stops. Now, when you're learning to play a song by ear and by chords, the main thing you want to pay attention to, first of all, the key. And I like that this site gives you the option to transpose. So you have 7 transpose options. And then you start off with the F chord, for the first measure, keep that chord. So what you can do is just repeat that chord. You're in 3/4 time, so you have 3 beats per measure. So you just hold each chord for 3 counts. So if you're repeating that chord, you're going F, 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 and then you change the chord when you say the word say. You change the chord to a C chord. Keep that C, 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 and then when you get to an E minor chord, you should be on the second syllable of the word despite, and then you change to an E minor chord. E minor, E minor, E minor, E minor, and then A minor when she switches to my, and then A minor, A minor, A minor, A minor after that, and then F when she switches to the word where, the face. So maybe that gives you a little guidance. And what I said before was, I wasn't going to assign a certain sequence or have you learn certain songs. I was just kind of leaving that up to chance and to see what we come across. So I was advised a long time ago, don't think so much in terms of just putting together like a book or a set number of songs for people to follow, but just focus more on the method of how I'm doing it. So I'm having a good time working with my students that want to learn to play by chords and by ear. And then I'm also having a good time with my students that are dedicated, very dedicated to learning how to write down music clearly, which is what we do over at CMajor before the show. Okay, so let's get out of this for a moment. So I'm just going to go back here and see what else is in line. Now, I really was looking for that Luke Bryan song, and I hoped that it would come up first, but it didn't. So now, let me just say First Love, and then we just type in Luke Bryan and see if it comes up that way. By the way, if you have been following our podcast episodes, you may have noticed that we pause a couple of times in the podcast now. So that's going to continue. So just be prepared for that. So the pause may take place 10 minutes in, the pause may take place 15 minutes in, but just expect that it's meant to be like that, and then we'll just continue in this way. Now, First Love, Luke Bryan. For some reason, it did not come up among this sheet music. I wonder what comes up if I just type Luke Bryan. Okay, so he definitely has a library here that you can pick a lot of songs from. And it looks like he has many selections on this site. But for some reason, First Love is not listed among those for the sheet music site. So that means I'm going to go to another sheet music site after this and see if I can find it over there. Okay, so let me check off Adele. Okay, now let's see what comes up when I type Jennifer Lopez. Let's see if her song comes up. And if it doesn't, what I'll do is just take a look at a couple of other songs that I'm interested in now, because I didn't realize there were so many songs with the same title. Okay. So I like that she has a lot of songs, well, quite a few, let's say it that way, that have the word love in the title. Let's see if First Love comes up. Okay. So again, same thing. It didn't really come up for this search. Maybe I have to search differently to make that title come up for this particular site. I'm going to look at another site with you in a moment. But let me just type First Love all over again. I'm going to go back to that Kirk Franklin song that I saw. again, this is for my friends, for my critics that are out there as well, who have a different idea of what first love should be about if you're writing about first love in the first place. So just to give you an idea, there's something called First Love by Abundant Life Ministries, and there's First Love by Chris Tomlin. There's First Love by Kirk Franklin. So let me just look at that real, and then Hillsong Young and Free, First Love. I think I'll just deal with Chris Tomlin and Kirk Franklin. So First Love, see, it looks like Words and Music by Kirk Franklin as a spoken part. And then right away, I can see these songs are these sounds, these chords are very sophisticated. So some of these you'll be able to pick through, and then just do the best that you can, because it starts off with a B flat major 13th chord, going to an E flat major 7th chord, followed by a C minor 7th chord, followed by an F 7th chord, add 4. An F 7th chord, followed by a B flat major 13th chord, and then an E flat major 7th chord. So already you start to see, some of the chords start to repeat. But just to give you an idea of the lyrics, I know they hurt you, they saw you stumble but didn't help you, and now they left you. And then, you have to go through the rest of the song. Okay, so let me go back here now. Okay, so let me go to Chris Tomlin's song. Okay, so just looking at the intro, you can see you're going to have some challenges there, because we haven't really talked about flat chords yet. And I didn't even look to see if you could transpose this, but you have a B flat chord followed by a C minor 7th chord, followed by an E flat 2 chord, followed by a B flat chord, G minor 7th chord, F chord, followed by an E flat 2 chord. Piano with heavy delay, that's the performance direction. So split bass chords, I'm seeing a B flat over D, G minor 7th, and then an F chord. So it gets a little easier as you start the verse. And it says, "You are still my first love, and all I am is yours," capital Y. So you know the topic at hand when you see that. So all respect to anyone who has an idea what first love should be about. And I would just say, I agree with this person that was trying to say to me, your first love should be, and then she filled in the blank. And then just started talking with me about her ideas for songwriting and what music should really be about. But we're talking about what happens when you start to like someone for the first time. And it could be that you're in your young adult years, your early 20s, college, whenever it took place. What that feeling is like when you're really trying to connect with someone on that level, and it's happening for the first time, and then you realize that. So that's the music we're dealing with mostly tonight. But go ahead and do a search and see what you find and see what appeals to you. Now let's go to Sheet Music Plus. And I just want to see if this song is going to come up over here. So the Luke Bryan, My First Love. Maybe I need to type My First Love. I think I just typed First Love before. Okay, but let's just see if that comes up over here. It may come up as part of a book. Okay, so that didn't really come up over there either. But I think if you just do that search that we initially did, the Google search, you're probably just going to find yourself looking at videos and not necessarily scores of music that go along with that. So now I'm typing in Jennifer Lopez, First Love, and see if anything comes up among the sheet music. Okay, no. Nothing, and it's probably the way that I'm searching for it, but just know if you do search for sheet music over there, you'll see best love songs come up and other titles that come up that have to do with love. So just feel free to do a search on your own and have fun with it. So thank you so much for doing our search with us today. Okay, now I have something to say about Poll Everywhere. So we just have a little bit more business to take care of before we get to my song, First Love, because I'm going to be giving you the chord sequence, the First Love chord sequence. That's why you're tuning in today, right? So we're going to get to that. But I want to let you know that I did post a poll over at Poll Everywhere. So if you've been following us, in the last episode we did announce that we are going to start doing more formal polls and to interact with you a little bit more than we normally do. So live interactive audience participation is what they're about. That's what we're trying to do. And I want to be able to engage you in real time in the future. So let me just go ahead and take a look at this poll that I posted, see if there was any response. I don't really expect to have any response right now because it's so new, but we're going to get there. Okay, and then the more that we go, we'll of course, we will see if we can do upgrades. Okay, so the first poll that we did was last week, and I just asked, do you currently take piano lessons online? Then the second poll was, how would you prefer to learn to play the piano? So let me just take a look at that really quickly. It says no responses yet. So the question was, how would you prefer to learn to play the piano? By ear and by chords, by reading the notes, traditional notation, or both? And so I can choose how you're going to respond to that. I can also post a link and so forth. And I can also reactivate the same poll. Okay. So now I think that in the future, we will try to have more live interaction, as I was saying. I think that's the way this works best, is using that platform. So I'm very excited for that. So thank you so much for taking a look at our polls. Also, don't forget to look at us over at Facebook at CMajor Before the Show. So we're building a following over there, and then just taking it step by step, day by day. And speaking of that, we're also building a following over at the CMajor radio show. So what we want to do eventually is to have it more or less as a call-in to the show. So I experienced a couple of callers last week. So if you happen to listen over there, you will hear that toward the end of the podcast episode. So that was a little bit of a surprise and very entertaining. So if you have a chance to listen over there. But let me just encourage you, when you do call in, let's try to talk about the topic at hand, because I really am focusing on chords, and I feel that I have a lot to share. And it's not all about me. It really is about you and your learning. What I'm doing is just basically having conversations on a daily basis with those of you who are out there trying to make the best music you can make. You have your own ideas, and it's very interesting to hear what you want to do with your music making. And so to be able to respond to that and really reply to that, it really is an honor. So I'm very excited about that. So give yourselves an applause. Anyone who is out there really trying to make the best music they can make. And so if you have any information that you would like to share, if you're starting to write your own songs, if you're thinking about writing music down, then see us over at Blog Talk Radio, because we are talking about over there ways to write down music clearly. And we're taking the information that we have over here. That's why we call it CMajor before the show, because it's what's coming up on the CMajor radio show, basically. And also using this show to lead you there, because ultimately I think that should be your goal. If you're serious about writing your own songs, I would encourage you to at least know how to chart that, how to put it on a staff. And also to have some knowledge about chords. One of the things that really surprised me, and I've said this in a previous episode, was just talking with friends that can play circles around so many musicians, including myself. But if you sit there and ask them what are they playing, then it becomes a big question mark. And so my way of encouraging them was say, you have an idea of what sounds you like. You're so brilliant. Why don't you try to find out a name to what it is that really excites you? And then you can take more control of your studio session, for instance. You don't just have to wait for somebody to play that, major 13th chord or whatever it is, or those fancy chords, and then say, that's it, that's the sound I want. You can walk right into that studio session and say, you know what, my sound is, and then you can string together a sequence and say, this is how I like it, can you play that? And then it puts you more in control, saves you time. You're not sitting there being frustrated when you do a session with somebody who doesn't understand theory enough to put together the sounds that you want. So I just encourage my friends to do that. Me, personally, I like simple chords. And so that's a nice segue into what I'm going to talk about next. So get ready. I'm going to talk with you next about the first love chord sequence that's coming up. I'm going to take a break right now, get myself a little something to drink some water, and then I'll be right back. And you are here with CMajor. I'm here with you on CMajor before the show. We're talking about the chords for first love chords. What does that sound like? So I'm going to give you my perspective. We talked about other artists out there who have used that same title, First Love, and what it means to them, but I'm going to tell you what it means to me. So when I wrote this song, I really did have someone in mind that I had grown up with, and it was someone that I had known since I was very young, but it wasn't until much later, until college years, that we both kind of talked about the meaning of first love and what that felt like. And then it wasn't until many years after that I actually started to write music, and I thought about that conversation, and then I just put some sounds with it. So me, I like to write simply. I like to keep it simple, and I like to keep it simple as well when I'm teaching. So my writing is simple. Some people would say, you wrote something better than I could ever write. And then others say, why don't you write something a little bit more complicated? And it was just a lesson that I learned. I can't recall who I had this conversation with, but they were saying that the hardest thing sometimes for classical musicians to do, or classically trained musicians to do, is to write simply and to play simply. And I would say that last part is true. We've talked about the whole dilemma of sitting down to play Happy Birthday, but yet you can run circles around everybody when it comes to playing the most sophisticated classical music, but it's the simple things that really throw you off. So I just happen to like a very simple chord progression when I'm writing. I like that clear sound when I'm writing. So what I'm going to do now is give you the sequence, but before I do that, I'm going to steer you towards our resource. If you've been following us, you know that we are taking advantage of, I'll say it that way, of the really useful piano poster. And I believe it's called the really useful chord poster now. But look that up, the really useful piano poster or the really useful chord poster, and you should be able to find that. So if you look at this poster, it's just a great poster. It really is. It gives you everything that you need, all in one concise poster. Everything from common scales to common chords, to musical notation and sight reading tips, to key signatures, common notation, writing chords to a song, and the circle of fifths. So writing chords to a song, that's what I want to talk with you. So it just says, when writing chord progressions, Roman numerals are used to indicate a chord's position relative to the scale. In order to write chord progressions for any major or minor key, we can follow these simple formulas. So I would say, join me over at the CMajor radio show, because I'm probably going to talk about this in more detail over there tonight, and then also talk with you about how to write these positions on a staff, something like that. I'll just come to see me over there if you are interested in writing down these chords. Now, this is what I found out. And speaking of writing down, I wrote down the chords that I'm using. So, First Love, for me, was written in the key of C. So if you happen to do a search, and you search First Love by CMajor, you'll see that. It's written in the key of C, so it starts with the C chord, ends with the C chord, and the way I start out the song, I go from a C chord to a C major 7th chord to an F major 7th chord. And I believe you will find these chords on the really useful piano poster, really useful chord poster. So let me just look over there and just make sure. Okay, so C major. Let's just see if they have that. Okay, so maybe not. Okay, so what they did was they just gave you major, minor, augmented, diminished, and dominant 7th chords, and that was it. They didn't really give you Didn't really go into major 7 chords. So then let me look at my other resource real quick. Okay, and then just let you know which one of these resources will tell you how to place your hands on the keys to play the chords that I use in my song, in case you want to try it out. Okay, so just give me one moment, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I'm back, and then what I wanted to show you was how to find these chords that I'm using in First Love. Okay, so I have now the piano chord dictionary. I have the piano chord finder that we stated in the beginning of the course, which should be listed on the syllabus too. So if you happen to have a copy of the syllabus or want a copy of the syllabus, let me know. So I'm looking at the ultimate keyboard chord chart. Let's just see if it gives you major 7 chords over there. It does. Okay. Alright, so if you're looking there, basically, you're going to chart this out for yourself. And just know that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chords that I use mainly for First Love. So I use a C chord, followed by a C major 7 chord, then an F chord, an F major 7 chord, a G chord, and an A minor chord. And they pretty much occur in that order, but I'm just challenging you as far as the homework goes. Yes, there is still homework. So as far as the homework goes, just see if you can play these chords as they pop up in the song. So that will require you to download the song. If you have Apple Music or whatever your subscription service may be, you may be able to find it. Depending on what you've subscribed to and what you've downloaded from iTunes, for instance. And just see if you can make these chords fit. And we are jumping ahead. I know that this is the Piano for Parents series, and I'm taking it slowly with you all. And we haven't talked about 7 chords at all, but we have talked about the chord charts. So I'm just going to point you in that direction. So the first 3 chords that you can try to play for First Love would just be a C major chord followed by a C major 7 chord followed by an F major 7 chord, and then just repeat that. So that really is the sequence. And then after that, I would say try to see if you can find a C going to a G going to an F, and then repeat that. And then after that, go from an A minor to a G, repeat that, and then after that, go from an A minor to a G to an F, and then pretty much goes back to the top, and then I end on C. So either way, you need 6 chords that we need to search for. So let's search for those again. So A C chord, a C major chord, is spelled C-E-G. It's all white keys. And then the second chord that I stated was C major 7th. Okay, so using the Ultimate Keyboard Chord Chart, I can find this by just going down that column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, 7. So it's the 7th chord example down. So that is spelled C-E-G-B. And you can choose the fingers that you want to use. No worries. Also, the thing that I like about this chart is that they do try to give you the formula. So we're talking about the formula that you can find over the really useful piano poster or chord poster. But over in this chart, they also tell you the formula is 1, 3, 5, 7. They just give it to you. And when they talk about formula, they really are talking about the tones from the major scale. We'll say a little bit more about that. And I also like, too, is what they're saying. The information that they're giving you tells you how chords are built in theory, but this is not necessarily how chords are played. That's so important. Because the voicing is very tricky for some. So you get to choose how you want to spread these tones out, how you want to double those. Some of the tones may be missing. You can play some of the chords with one or both hands. So it's a lot of, and they use the word liberal. Feel free to use these chords liberally, to make liberal use of chord inversion. So I like that they said that. Okay, now let's go to F major 7. Okay, same thing. If you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you count 7 down, then you'll come to face, basically. I had a student that was so cute. He was so excited. He's like, Mom, I learned how to play face on the piano today. I can play face. This is what it sounds like. And then he played it. And of course, he's too young to know that it's a major 7 chord. We haven't talked about major 7 chords yet. And he has to grow into be able to, to making that reach. But he was able to play them individually, which is what the piano method was showing him. So it was very cute. Okay, now, C chord, G chord, F chord. Of course, you know how to play those as triads. And then A minor to G, and then A minor to G to F. And then the song ends on a C. So good luck, and then just see if you can play along with the first love chords and have fun with that. So give yourself an applause if you're going to be trying this. Now, if you care to, I'm really impressed with this original piano chord finder as well, and that they give you instructions on how to use the book. So they really do lay everything out for you on one page. It's not in column form. They give you a picture of it, and then they just tell you what the major 7th is by putting a capital M with a 7. So you can see everything up front. You don't have to follow a column down the page. And I like also that they give it to you on a grand staff, and then they split it. They show you what the left hand should play versus what the right hand should play. So we'll probably talk about this tonight over at the C Major radio show, because for the C major 7th split, they have you playing a bass C with a bass G in the left hand, and then the right hand they have you playing a treble E with a treble B natural, in the right hand for the C major 7th chords. That's just how they split it. But if you look at the picture, so you'll see dots for C major, which is C, E, G. So a dot on C, a dot on E, a dot on G. And then for the major 7th, they just put a capital M and a 7. And then I also like, too, that they give you the option for 9th chords. So we're going to try to cover that. If not in the first 12 weeks of the Piano for Parents series, definitely the second 12 weeks. That's what I'm thinking about doing. So this is from the original Piano Chord Finder. And then I'm going to take a look at the Piano Chord Dictionary. Now that one threw me for a loop because I didn't realize when I got this that it was going to just use chords for the left hand, and that's what it does. So it's just saying what the rules are for forming chords by combining certain scale tones according to definite rules. That's what they wrote. But at the same time, they're just doing everything in the bass clef. So they really do intend for the left hand to play these. So I'm just going to page on over to C. Everything is in ABC order. So if I go over to C, and I'm going to say this again later over at the CMajor radio show. So see me over there tonight. Usually what I try to do is post what's coming up over there after I've ended the podcast episode over here. And then in the future, I think once it gets warmer, I'll try to post everything ahead of time and then just up the frequency of how much we're staying on over there. So counting from the top down is vertical. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you go 5 chords down, they give you the C major 7th chord. And again, this is how they are having you play it. They want you to put your little finger on G, put your 3rd finger on B, put your 2nd finger on C, and your thumb on E. So we haven't talked about inversions at all. I'm not going to cover that, especially not in today's podcast. But it is an inversion, and this is what they prefer to give you. So again, a C major 7th chord is pictured on the bass staff only. They give you the fingering that they want you to use for each note, and they spell it from bottom to top. So G, B, C, E. And then you're expected to follow that. So again, this is where you probably need to get a teacher involved to explain that to you if you're self-teaching yourself to play the piano and you haven't yet gotten a teacher involved. Or in the case of one of my parents this week, you can ask your child. Your child may be able to help you to figure it out if you're able to spend time with your child who's taking piano lessons. It could be a fun way to spend some time together. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pause again, and we're going to come back in just a few moments. You're listening to C Major Before the Show. Porter here on C Major Before the Show. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. It's a great pleasure to be with you. And we have been talking about first love today. I'm excited. I hope you had a good time listening to today's podcast. And just take some time to play some chords this week. Take some time to put some chords together, see how you feel. Let us know your thoughts and your feelings. You can touch base with us over at Twitter. We're at CMajor Porter 1. And we are learning how to build our presence over there. We are also available on YouTube if you would like to subscribe to our channel. And thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to what we have to say here. Every week feels a little bit different to me. Sometimes I feel like I have a little bit more to say than others, but it's all fun. It's all jokes in some cases. And we try to keep it light over here. But at the same time, I want you to feel like you're getting something out of the podcast. So I would love to hear from you. Let me know what you're thinking. And we hope to see you again right here on CMajor before the show. I encourage you to make the best music you can make. And next week's class in the Piano for Parents series is going to be about expanding your chords for a fuller sound. You don't want to miss that. I went over this a little bit with a student today, an adult student who is playing chords for the first time. He likes to sing, and he's just deciding what he wanted to do, what path he wanted to follow. If he wanted to learn to read music, if he wanted to play the music by Ed Sheeran, by chords, or if he wanted to learn to read the music. So we're still on the fence about that. He hasn't quite let me know what he wants to do. But today I found out for the first time that he can sing. He didn't tell me that part. So we're at the point now where I'm just teaching him how to do doubling or to play with a fuller sound. So we're going there next. And then we're also going to work on playing some rhythms. So it's just to help him to sound more mature at the piano. I think that's why a lot of parents are interested in playing by chords, and I just encourage that. Also, if you happen to have had piano lessons when you were a child and now you're trying to pick up where you left off, just know that a very good idea is to try to find a teacher that will work with you according to method, so that you're not just building a library of songs. That's fun too, but method is so important. If, for instance, you missed something in your piano teaching when you were growing up, that you didn't get to play all those scales that you wanted to, that you didn't get to really experience the piano lessons in a way that you should have experienced the piano lessons to give you everything that you need. And that just reminds me of my students that are using flashcards for the first time. So I'm going to give them a shout out. I'm going to see how it's working for them first, and then we'll give them a shout out probably in the next podcast. But I want to see how they are enjoying using the flashcards. The flashcards will give you everything that you need in the first 2 years of beginning piano lessons. So it really is helping you to remember what these symbols mean, what some of your performance directions are, and what those mean and how to pronounce those. It doesn't tell you how to pronounce those. That's why you need a teacher. So another example of when is music self-teaching and when does it require a teacher? Unless you go online and you find out a way to pronounce it, or else ask Alexa or Siri to teach you how to pronounce these words. So there's just so much to think about depending on your approach to the piano, and I think it's a good use of your time. I think that there's nothing wrong with just taking the time to learn how to play an instrument that you admire, seeing others play. But my caution is, make the best music you can make. So don't worry about if somebody can run circles around you playing fill in the blank. Just worry about what you're getting out of it. What's your intention? What's your purpose for playing music in the first place? Is it really to just impress your family and friends that you can do something? Or do you really have something to say? There are so many musicians out there who have made careers with just 3 chords, and they really made it happen for themselves because they knew they had something to express. And I do have a circle of friends who really believe in that. They don't believe in going to a teacher. They really believe in self-teaching. So, having said all of that, again, we'll see you next week right here on CMajor Before the Show. Take care, be well, make the best music you can make. Next week's class in the Piano for Parents series will be about expanding your chords for a fuller sound. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a terrific Valentine's Day weekend, Valentine's Day week, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.